Welcome to Woman Vision TV. It's where women talk. I'm Nadia Jordana. My guest today is Sandra Zeiszler. Sandra is a LinkedIn trainer, and she also conducts workshops for parents and even grandparents to help teach them what they need to know to keep their children safe on the internet. Let's go talk to Sandra and learn a few things. Sandra, hi. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to present this information with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you have to say. My first question, as a matter of fact, I was thinking about for parents today, not having grown up with computers, would you say they're at something of a disadvantage when it comes to even having an inkling of what their kids are doing online?
You know, that's such a big topic because we all did not grow up in computer age, even
No,
though I
I
kind
didn't.
of did in my my mid 40s, that I had a little bit of technology. But as as parents get older and having kids younger, we're getting, the generation is a bigger gap. And so it is a disadvantage. And it just isn't natural. And kids are growing up in it, so it's natural for them at birth to grow up with technology in their hands. And as adults, it's not. And we have to take the time to learn. Yeah, it's so important to learn and educate yourself.
We need to, and of course the kids take to it so naturally.
Yep, I don't know how it's so important, but we think back, how our parents had to go from the rotary phone to the push button phones, and we went from 8-track to CDs and tapes and
no TV to color TV.
Correct.
Wow, yeah.
So if you think, just put it into perspective.
It is. And now something I read recently, children as young as the age of 2 have a digital footprint. What exactly does that mean?
Yes, they do. And it's because I go down to just shop around, go to the grocery store and look who has a computer in their hand. It's the 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
And they know more about the phone than we do at that age. And I always kind of say that they have a digital footprint because we're giving it to them from the day that they're conceived. Because as soon as you put the sonogram picture on Facebook, we've created this platform with their name, baby XYZ. We're creating that footprint from them, that we're showing baby pictures, we're sharing.
And the family that surrounds them.
Correct. And so we're giving them this history that's there forever. And it's there forever. It'll never go away. That picture will never go away.
Well, can you give us 2 or 3 things we should be looking out for when it comes to kids and the internet?
Take a look first at your own activity. Watch and see what you do. Lead by example. If you never put your cell phone down, then don't expect your children to ever put theirs down. I always, have that family time, and those are big things.
Yeah.
Really decide what's really truly important. Why does a child at a young age want to have a phone or a platform, whatever it might be, whether it's gaming? Really, set the ground rules at an early age. Do they really need to be on, TV 24/7? Do they really need to be on that gaming platform 24/7? And a lot of parents, they only go an hour a night. Set some timers and really record it and really learn to see. And it's an eye-opener, I'll tell my parents. And there's a couple apps for that. You can do that and you can record how much activity is spent.
Yeah.
So just Google your app store. There's several out there. Yeah. There's lots out there. Yeah. So take a look at that. Or just set a timer and log it on a piece of paper.
That's good too. And does that fall into the category of monitoring, what parents and grandparents can do to monitor their activities?
I think that monitoring the kids is really tough because you really don't want to spy on your children.
Yeah.
And there isn't really applications to spy, because if you can spy on your child, that means that the predators have access to spy on your children, which yes, they do. But I think it's just open communication. Start that open communication with that child at a really early age. Talk to them about what that video violence is, or why it's set up a certain way, or why it's not important, or what the difference is between that video or that game or that app as they get older. Why do they need to be why do they have to have a phone at 9? What's the reason? What's the bottom line? My friend, all of our kids have it in school. Is that really a truly reason for it? What is it? Think about it.
Do they really need that?
Yeah.
And it occurred to me while we were talking here, the violence in video games, does that fall into something that needs to be monitored by parents and grandparents? I remember having
Absolutely.
grandkids over at my house, and I do know that a grandson used my laptop with my permission, and I was kind of hanging around and watching, and he was using a site, and I thought, I don't think his mom really wants him on this site, even though he knows about it, and he wasn't real thrilled when I said, I don't think we should be having this site up there today, but if I would have just walked away and left it, but that site had violence on it that I felt was inappropriate for someone that age.
Yeah, and it's important for grandparents to be aware of that as well, and not trust the child that much, give them that much flexibility. I actually have a recent situation that happened. I was at a girlfriend's, and her grandkids were over for a little while,
Yeah.
and I was working on a project with her, and the TV was on in the other room, and I looked at her and I says, I don't think that that's age appropriate TV for that child. And she looked at me and she's like, yeah, I don't think so, but he said it was okay. Well, later the child got in trouble from the parent because that child was not supposed to be on that.
Yeah.
And you want to trust the child, and as a grandparent, you're not really into it as much. And she just was like, wow, I didn't realize how bad it was.
Yeah.
And you have to think about it, and really second guess. And maybe check in with the parents too.
Well, and that's the other thing, is you don't realize how bad it is. That video game online that I was referring to a moment ago, I didn't at first realize how bad it was until I looked at it a couple of times and heard a couple of things, and then I'm thinking, oh, this isn't so nice.
Yeah, no, and that's where you need to really sit next to the child
Yeah.
and really watch them. You can't just set it down, put them in front of the TV or the video game or whatever, and walk away and go in the other room, because that child's going to get curious, and they're going to want to do it on themselves, and of course they're going to want to be secretive.
Yeah.
That's just natural
Yeah.
for all of us. We did it when we were younger too.
Yeah,
Of course we did.
It's not unusual to kids today.
But set the ground rules when they're really young, that you are aware of what they're doing and be aware of it.
That makes me think about, it's nice to have the kids in the basement with their
the noise.
computer and their laptop so that you can have peace and quiet upstairs. But that brings up another area of what to watch for. They've got a lot of privacy when they're all alone in a completely other part of the house.
And especially as kids get older, into the 10, 11, 12-year-old, they have a lot more responsibility, and you're giving them that responsibility to have that smartphone to be able to go and do what they want in those apps, and really know what those apps are. Download them yourself. And I always say, people ask me, how can I monitor my kids? Should I get the passwords? Well, yeah, you need to have the passwords, and they need to be written down on a regular basis. But then you need to also do a spot check. I always say a surprise inspection. Make sure, you have to do that, because you have to know, is that password changed? They might write it down today, and 5 minutes later they're going to change it from you.
Yeah.
So you have to do that surprise inspection, but include your child. Not, I'm going to drug test you here. Go to the bathroom right now.
It's
but
a
make
fine
it
line, isn't it?
ask them, what is this app?
Yeah.
Why do you need 1,000 followers on your Instagram account? Who are these 1,000 people, or 800 or 400 people? Not just friends of a friend. Why and who is this person? Because Sarah's dad's uncle might not be safe, and you don't know that. Just because he's Sarah's dad's uncle doesn't mean he isn't the the stalker that's got the the closet obsession of something. You don't know that.
Exactly.
So just be really aware of that. Why does that kid need to be a friend with them?
Well, are there any classic red flags to be watching for?
The biggest thing I look at is, I get asked, what's the worst cyber safety, or what's the worst platform out there? And a lot of parents will tell me, oh, it's Facebook. And in reality, it's really Snapchat and Instagram. And that's where kids are at, is Instagram has the highest rate for that 16 to 34-year-old age, and it's 90%. So we as parents need to be on there and kind of just watch what our kids are doing. And
is there chatting going on Instagram too? I see pictures.
Good question. It's really,
I see pictures.
Instagram is primarily photos, but you can respond and you can like stuff, and you can kind of, people may not be chatting, but you can message somebody kind of on the back end.
Okay.
And so you can build a relationship, but we share our entire life, our happy, our sad emotions We share our
Yeah.
activities all through, and somebody can really learn who you are. I know now your age, what you do, what you like, what you don't like, and I can follow you around the social media platforms.
So, and you mentioned earlier about kids who lie about their age to get their accounts. What is the standard idea of a good age for a kid to have a cell phone and to be on social media?
Yeah, and that's a very difficult question for parents, or very difficult issue. I think we have to look at, we want to have our kid, when I grew up, we had a quarter in our pocket, and we always had the payphone to use to call mom when we needed to get picked up. Or I just walked home because I lived in a small town. So I would, now parents, they need to communicate with their kids at maybe 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old. Start with a flip phone, a prepaid phone.
Yeah.
They don't need that access
Doesn't
to the
have to
entire
be a
world.
smartphone.
It doesn't have to be an $800 iPhone. I mean, put that into perspective. That's, my first car was $800. If you think about it, maybe they're $300 now and $400, but do they really need that platform? Can we put those? We can lock down their usage time. So their phone is only accessible from 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock, or from noon to 3 or something.
I didn't know you could even
You
do
can put
that.
those limitations on those phones and let that kid build that trust with you. Let them earn it. Don't just give it to them right at 7-year-olds or 8-year-olds. They don't need that. But even at 8, 9, 10, what is the reason? And set some time limits on it. And you can't, you can block some stuff. All of the popular, the top cell phone providers, Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, they all have a child protection package that you can purchase.
Yeah.
So definitely look at that. Go down to your local store and take a look at that and talk with the salespeople, or just look it up online. They all have that sections for you. And just look at that. But the biggest thing is that we're lying to be on these social media platforms, those kids. You are agreeing to the terms that you are 13.
Yeah.
And you're agreeing that that 10-year-old is 13 by checking that box.
Yeah.
And somebody has to be responsible, and it's not Instagram, and it's not Facebook.
No.
It's
How can
the
they
person
be?
that is.
Yeah.
And that's why we have the Child Protection Act, so that they aren't collecting data knowingly of kids under 13. Well, if you lie about it, they don't know the difference. So
Now, here's a thought. I guess I'm thinking like a mom now. Let's say you've got all these protections in place in your own home, and you're younger than 13, child, or even of age to be on these sites, who has a friend who doesn't have the necessary protections in their home, or who parents aren't around. What do you do?
Yeah. What do you do? If a child abuses something and you take the phone away, they're just going to go to their friend's phone. They're just going to still access somewhere else. And so really just setting those ground rules and communicating with the kids. If it's that open communication, and any parent's coach is going to tell you that family time around dinner is still so important in communicating and finding out what that other friend has for platforms. Talk to the parents. Talk to that other child's parents. What are your family rules for that cyber safety? We have to communicate. We have to do that. And I had an opportunity to talk with a police officer one time, and he says the number one issue that parents don't know, he says you've got to stress that to the parents. When you talk about this, when a child goes missing or there's an issue, the number one question is, where was the last known location?
Yeah.
They were at little Johnny's house. Where's little Johnny's house? Down the street. Where's that?
What's that
Parents
address?
can't answer that question. What's the phone number for the parents? What's the address for those parents? Know where there is. And he says he was so just passionate about that. So it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And so it's so important for us to know what these kids are doing and where they're at.
Yeah. Bigger than ever before.
Correct. And yes, you can put GPS locations on the kids' phones, but it gets left in the bathroom, and now that's the GPS location, and they're gone somewhere else. We have to have that way in. Yep, there's more than alternatives. Don't let them be babysitters. Yep, GPS is only going to be so good as where the phone was last left, and so that may not be the last known location.
And they do leave them.
They get lost. They get
They
left
get
behind.
lost,
They don't. Giving a kid a smartphone doesn't give them that they're responsible. As adults, how many adults lose their phones?
We do it too.
We all do it. It's known. Yep.
Well, Sandy, I'm going to put your web address on the screen so that parents who need more information can get that. And do you have a few parting words of wisdom for us before
Yeah,
we go?
so visit my website, cybersmartsforparents.com, and I'm looking for opportunities to speak at different organizations. If you have any, definitely willing to talk to you and your parent organizations to talk about what those issues are. We can go deeper. Just communication, identify why the kid needs the phone, and set some house rules.
Yeah.
We sign a contract for getting a car, we sign a contract, and we have a cyber safety backup plan for our companies and at different organizations, but we don't have it for our family.
Yeah.
And we need that. We need to have that. We have the exit plan for fire and safety, but we don't have it for the smartphones, and that's so important.
It's really important. Everybody needs to know more about that.
The perfect kid in the world is the one that gets captured too.
And they're good kids. They're
all good kids. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's so important to just be aware and be aware parents. You just need to know what's going on. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on the show
Great
today.
topic.